Na 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 na.
Coming to you live from beautiful downtown Phoenix in Arizona State, this is episode 7 of the Harris Highlight Show. Gentlemen, we have a lot to discuss this week, The rankings came out again, and there are some shak'ems that have taken the country by storm. But before we get to that, I have some exciting news to announce. We have a sponsor. We officially have our first sponsor, and that sponsor is AthleticCases.com. Here at the Harris Highlights Show, we are proud to announce our newest sponsor, AthleticCases.com. Athletic Cases is for sports fans who want custom iPhone cases that can't be found anywhere else. Featuring stars like Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Steph Curry, Cam Newton, and LeBron James, Athletic Cases has 25 unique iPhone covers that are perfect for any sports fan. And for 10% off of your case, enter promo code Harris. And guys, speaking of great news with AthleticCases.com, we're going to be giving one away on the show this week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I have it?
Unfortunately, Brady, you can't have it, but I mean, you still can enter to win, but I won't pick you, unfortunately. How do you win, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you how to win. If you want one of these cases, just go to Twitter, hit me with that follow, and send me a tweet or a direct message saying why you want a case and what case you would choose. The next week, I'll choose my favorite one. I think we'll choose our favorite one live on the show, and we'll announce it. So there you go, a new case for someone. They're nice-looking cases.
They are. I looked through them the other day, too.
They are some very nice ones. So
that one of Kobe and MJ.
If you guys want a free case, you know what to do. All right, guys, the newest top 25 rankings have been unveiled. There is a change.
We have a new number 4.
And that is the University of Washington. Now, I know we've all had our fair share of criticism and critique and love for Washington, so I feel like this is going to be a very fun topic. Lyle, I'm going to let you start off with this one.
Well, from a fan's perspective, I'm very happy to see Washington at 4, and even just from a general perspective, I'm happy to see them at 4 because I think that throughout this season, despite what people might say about their schedule, they have gone through each game every week and flat out dominated outside of maybe 2 games in Utah and Arizona. But they've taken their schedule by storm and really proved the nation wrong. So I'm happy to see them at 4. The only question I have is, I don't know about you guys, but with the selection committee, where do we see our consistency with these guys? Because
there is no consistency.
Because in the past,
they keep saying it's all gonna play out. Which is bull.
Yeah. I mean, in the past, what I've thought at least was big ranked wins jump you up in the polls. And that's what Ohio State did this last weekend. They dominated Nebraska, who was ranked 10th. So I thought for sure they were going to jump UW this week. But for some reason, I guess the committee was impressed with a big UW win over Cal. But again, not to take anything away from UW, to see them at 4 is...
I think it only gives them time, and this is the perfect time to give them to be the ranked of 4. Because the first 4 teams in the rankings are all undefeated. And finally, Washington is undefeated, of course, and they move into the rankings at 4. So to me, this is where they should be ranked. Of course, there's other teams that are 9-0, like Western Michigan. In my opinion, should be number 5.
Thank you.
But as it is right now, I'm happy with it.
See, here's the thing is, let me see if I can try to get this to make sense to our listeners. I'll try. Last week, I thought Washington should be number 4. Now that they have not been put at number 4, now that they weren't put at number 4 until this week, I honestly wanted to see Ohio State at number 4 this week.
Thank you.
Because they played against a very good Nebraska team. Although they were without Tommy Armstrong for most of the game, they proved that they were the better team, and it wasn't close at all.
What was said in one of the committee members was asked after the fact, I think it was yesterday evening or even today during the day, was asked how they come up with it, and he straight up said it's not by margin of victory. which I think that needs to be accounted for.
Yeah.
Because when Ohio State beats the team like Nebraska, how atrocious that game was, I think Ohio State easily could have been bumped up to 4. Not bashing UW at all, because I think they're 9-0. They have the better record. They deserve the right to be there.
That's what I was trying to get to make sense. Was last week I thought UW should be at number 4. Therefore, this week, if they were at number 4 last week, I would have no problem with them being at number 4 this week. However, since they were completely passed over last week, and you put Texas A&M there, which is a totally different story, which we'll touch on in a bit, because that was pathetic. But if you put Texas A&M at 4, they lose, and then this week, I think Ohio State should be there. No disrespect to UW. I just think that Ohio State had a tremendous win over a very good team.
To me, I think it's only a quick payoff for Washington. I feel like the committee's going, ooh, yeah, we made a mistake picking Texas A&M at 4 last week. So in regards of our mistake, you deserved it last week, but we'll give it to you this week.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yes, and as of now, I'm happy with it because, I mean, like, there's still more games to play. Things can change out, blah, blah, blah. But I'm happy, and Washington is ranked where they should be, in my opinion.
And I think we're now starting to see that with Ohio State at 5, they've made it pretty clear that only one Big Ten team is going to go to the college football playoff. I just think only one Big Ten team is going to go to the college football playoff because you get into that last week of the season with Ohio State and Michigan. One of them's going to lose. One of them's going to drop out. Ohio State's at 5 right now. They win that game. They're in the top 4 for sure, no doubt about it. But one of them is going to fall out, and one of them, I mean, is going to stay.
I think whichever team, depending on how UW's rest of the season goes in Clemson, I think Alabama, unless they lose to Chattanooga.
When they lose to Chattanooga,
Brady.
When they lose to Chattanooga.
I think Alabama's, the rest of the season, secured number 1 unless some drastic measure happens, in all honesty. Don't joke with Chattanooga, in all honesty. Clemson, they're going to be solidified at 2 until the winner of the Ohio State or Michigan game.
Of course.
And then I think whichever team loses that game will be 5th. So the winner of that game will go to 2. The loser of that game will go to 5.
Yeah.
That's how I think that'll play out.
I think so too, because the way that this schedule is set to play out. See, if these were two Big Ten teams that met earlier in the season and were both still doing this good and that were ranked high, then clearly anything can happen. But that's the way that this is set up for Michigan, because Wolverine fans should not be super on cloud 9 right now, because you still have that game against Ohio State, and that game has so much more incentive now to win. Because if you lose that game, not only are you losing again to the Buckeyes, but you're also keeping yourself out of the college football playoff.
And going back to the point that I made a second ago about Clemson, their remaining schedule, which the college football playoff committee takes into account strength of schedule, they have home against Pitt, at Wake Forest, home against South Carolina. That's not a strong schedule, really, in the slightest bit. The best team on that list is probably South Carolina.
Yeah.
And so, if they win out, I think there's a chance they could win out and even drop to that 3rd spot.
I'm going to touch up back to the original thing, which is on Washington.
Wow, we got off topic.
But I'm gonna like reel in all the topics we just had at once, but I have a few to bring up. First of all, Washington. We all know that they deserved to be in the top 4 last week. Yep. That was a disgrace putting Texas A&M there, and like I said, we'll talk about that in a bit. But Washington should have been at 4 last week. This week, if you compare wins, Ohio State's win over Nebraska, or should I say blowout win over Nebraska, is a lot better than Washington's 30-point, 40-point victory at Cal. They're both good wins, but if we're going weekly basis, Ohio State, in my opinion, should have been at 4. I think this was just the committee going, you know what? We acknowledge that we screwed up last week, making a terrible decision, putting A&M at 4. We're going to put UW at 4. Because, like you guys have mentioned, it doesn't really matter at this point for Texas or for Michigan or Ohio State where they're ranked. They could be at 6 and 5. They can be at 1 and 2. Regardless of who wins that game, they're going to be in the top 4 for the college football playoff, and whoever loses that game is going to be out of the top 4 for the college football playoff. So whether or not Ohio State's in the top 5, whether or not Michigan's in the top 5, whatever it is, that game will play itself out based off where the rankings are. Now, speaking of Texas A&M, I think we all agreed last week what a crock that was at number 4, and man, did they show it. Not only did that look bad on them, how stupid did they make the committee look? I mean, do you think the committee lost some credibility with that? Because I think they did.
100%, yes.
Because that loss, and everyone is also saying, well, Trevor Knight did get injured. That was a huge impact to the game. When Trevor Knight got injured, Texas A&M was losing 28-7. So they did better when he came out of the game.
Yeah.
They almost came back to tie that game. Mississippi State, it's the SEC. They're having a down year. They're not the team they used to be, and this is a bad loss. And just really quickly, though, about Texas A&M, putting them at number 8 is an absolute joke.
Nebraska's at 19. Nebraska fell to 19.
LSU fell to, I think, was it 24?
LSU fell to 24.
They fell.
Nebraska fell to 19, and Texas A&M fell to 8.
So LSU loses by 10 to Alabama, who is
number 1 team in the country.
Probably one of the greatest college football teams people are saying ever, and you drop them 13 spots. While Texas A&M loses at Mississippi State, who's a crappy team, and they drop 4 spots after you were easily shown that they were too high at 4 anyway. So what's the deal with the committee just being really Texas A&M biased here? Because obviously we can't say SEC biased because LSU took the tumble, and some of these other teams kind of didn't really do well in the rankings either. So what's the deal? What's the love that Texas A&M is getting, and why is that?
Before anything, last week I said that the game Texas A&M versus Mississippi State should be an automatic win, and I doubted the Bulldogs since the beginning, and they proved me wrong. So quick shout out, Mississippi State,
New team to root for.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to go against your popular opinion here, and I don't think they lost credibility.
The committee or Texas A&M?
Okay. The committee itself. Because, there's a justification for why they're 8, was because they were at 4. They were one of those top 4, quote-unquote, best teams in the country. You're not going to have a team whose top 4 fall like that to 20th. You're going to have them go a couple spots.
They should not be in the top 10.
I think they should be right at 10, is where I would have them going.
I can maybe agree with 10.
But it's a loss to Mississippi State.
I could have them bumping Auburn because Auburn didn't move. Auburn was at 9 week 1. They're at 9 week 2 of the rankings. I don't think the committee lost credibility because they made a confident first decision.
A stupid first decision, but a confident one at that. They wanted them, like we all talked about, it's their spot to lose, and they did lose it. Yes, the injury happened, but a lot of times you see this really at any level of almost any sport. When one of your top players goes down, everyone rallies together. Your backup comes in. He has a lot of momentum. Yes, he has a lot of pressure on his back, but they have a lot of momentum on their side because they're getting all hyped up because they know the game relies on them. That's why I think they had that good comeback. It wasn't for, they're doing better without him. It was the spark of energy that they got when they saw a new face and a new player coming into that program.
Before I say what I'm going to say, I wish a very speedy and healthy recovery to Trevor Knight, who's out for the year with the shoulder injury.
Got to shout out Chad Kelly, too.
Chad Kelly, too, with the ACL.
Yeah.
Mississippi State quarterback Nick Fitzgerald, as bad as Mississippi State's been this year, the guy went for 400 total yards and accounted for 4 of the 5 touchdowns Mississippi State had. He stepped up big time in that game. That was huge, and that's what really rallied Mississippi State to that win. That's what really, pushed them toward that win.
Another thing, though, that upsets me about Texas A&M at 8, they have no chance at the college football playoff whatsoever. They honestly have none because their schedule is not going to benefit them anyway. They can't be, unless Alabama just somehow loses like two or 3 games in a row. So Texas A&M, they can't be in the SEC championship at all. So they have no shot at making it to the top 4. Meanwhile, Auburn at 9, they have a matchup with Alabama. If they can beat Bama, they'll be in the SEC championship, and if they can win that, they could potentially be in the top 4. But having them at 9 and having them having to overtake an extra spot that's taken by Texas A&M, that can end up haunting Auburn and hurting their chances in the top 4. And then also you have these other teams that are like Penn State at 10, Oklahoma 11, Colorado 12. You can make cases that they're not better teams, but they should be ranked ahead of Texas A&M. I'm really frustrated and upset with that Texas A&M at number 8 selection.
I agree with you that some of these teams could definitely be ahead of A&M, and I agree that A&M was ranked way too high for where they were last week. But I don't see any of these 2-loss teams getting into the college football playoff. I think it's so unlikely, and I think there's too many undefeated and 1-loss teams right now.
I know looking at the only poll right now that matters is the college football playoff rankings. Yes, the AP poll, it doesn't account for the actual rankings, but it's still a relevant poll. And in that poll, they have Texas A&M at 10. And they have Auburn staying at 8.
And I think they have Western Michigan like a 13 or
They have
12.
Western Michigan at 14.
So I respect the AP poll as well. But we've all seen the rankings.
They also have no USC, by the way.
Which is we'll get to that also in a bit. USC's finally in the top 25. Who do you guys think, looking at these rankings, are the most overrated teams or like the most underrated teams? What do you guys think about these top 25?
Well, I'm going to swoop in and say my piece that I think is probably going to be disagreed with by you guys, but it's an obvious one. I think USC is totally underranked or underrated.
Underrated?
Underrated, yes. Underranked,
No.
no. And the reason is because of their record. Putting USC at 20 is absolutely perfect. They're not overranked. They're not underranked. I just think that they're not getting enough credibility nationally for the running game that they've established over their last 5. They're on a 5-game win streak. The running game has been the best it's been since Reggie Bush and Londale White. Their quarterback has been the best that we've had. This is the most athletic quarterback we've seen from a USC team in years. So this is a very exciting team to watch now.
Really quick before Lyle goes, though, I just want to say, so USC at 20, I feel like that's a good ranking. I've been saying this to Josh for about a week or two now. I think overall right now, SC is one of the 10 best teams in the country. As he mentioned, they're on a 5-game winning streak.
I wouldn't say 10 best. I'd say top 10 most consistent.
No, not consistent. Well, I mean, as of the last 5 weeks, because earlier in the season, they were terrible. But like playing right now, like if I had
their conference play has been superb.
If I had USC playing a lot of these teams in the top 15, I could see them beating about 5 or 6 of them. Because like Josh mentioned, their running game is outstanding. Ronald Jones, who I said at the beginning of the year was going to be one of the top 5 or 10 running backs in the country, he's finally stepping it up.
That's the thing is Cedric Ware and Justin Davis are both out for USC.
What a name.
Justin Davis is USC's top running back, and he's out.
Justin Davis, forgot about him too.
Cedric Ware, whatever you want to call him. Ced Ware is out with an injury too. Last week against Oregon and the week before against Cal, it was nearly all Ronald Jones, and he was putting up the numbers that Reggie Bush used to put up.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
And then as he mentioned, Sam Darnold, probably one of the best quarterbacks SC's seen in a long time. If you take away their Alabama loss, which is... we are going to forget about that game for the rest of our lives. That Utah game, which they just had defensive collapses on that final drive, and the Stanford
4th and 15 pass interference.
And the Stanford game, which I do believe if Sam Darnold starts, they do win. Realistically, SC could have that one loss against Bama and somewhere be in the top 10. So I think this SC game, also I think they put them at 20 just to make that Washington game a little more exciting, have them against 20. But USC is a very, very good team that, all bias aside, has been looking really good and potentially can give Washington a run for their money this weekend. Really quickly, though, I want to get to an overrated team. And we're sticking to the Pac-12, and that's Colorado. Colorado's at number 12. Now, I did my research really quick. I'm gonna spit out the teams that they've beaten this year. Ooh. Colorado State, Idaho State, University of Oregon, Oregon State, Arizona State, Stanford, and UCLA. And last week against UCLA, they were only up by 3 points with 5 minutes left, and then a punt return touchdown ultimately gave them the dub. So with those no convincing wins, close games against really bad teams,
And they're ranked 12th.
and they're ranked 12th.
See,
That I agree with.
It's a really difficult subject to talk about because I am going to agree with you, but I'm also going to play devil's advocate. So when they played Arizona State, yes, they struggled, but this was also an Arizona State team that was undermanned. So that's one of those things, and they killed us. So that's why I think that's a good win for them. That Stanford game, that was the final score 10-5?
Yeah.
That's pathetic. But then you look at some of the teams that they've lost. First of all, they beat Oregon, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, look at Colorado. And then now we're sitting here going, nope.
Yeah, they beat Oregon by 3,
Big
which is
win.
not an achievement whatsoever.
Yeah, but then you look at some of the teams they've lost to. They lost to USC, I think 28-21 or 21-14. It was granted the game should have been much worse, but they were still able to execute when USC coughed up the ball. So there are some losses that Colorado has that makes them look like they can compete at a high level. But then you look at the teams they've beaten, and then that's when I agree with you. Why I think they're completely overrated at 12.
Perfect.
I'm going to go with my team now. I think Spencer and I both sort of agree on this one as we're talking off to the side. And it's sort of like they got the worst scheduling of the entire season of any team in all of college football. That's Western Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, they're 9-0.
Roll the vote.
but
Are you saying they're
I'm gonna-
overranked or underranked?
I'm going to say they're
Broncos.
underranked.
Thank you.
I'm saying they're underranked. They need to
Thank
be
you.
in at least, right now they're at 21. I think they should be at least in the top 17.
Yeah.
17.
Yes.
That's where I draw that line because it's midway between 15 and 20.
I would say top 20, but 17 sounds good.
Yeah, maybe right at 17. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is they've played the last 2 weeks, they've played on Tuesdays.
Yeah, which is terrible.
Tuesday.
The first one, their first game last week,
Ball State.
they played against Ball
Yeah,
State,
they didn't play Ball State.
was on a night that the Chicago Cubs and Cleveland Indians were playing. No one watched that. And they played this past week, obviously election night on Tuesday. No one watched that game either. And
Lord.
they've won both of those games, and no one knows about it.
To make themselves
It's honestly
To
one
make
of the,
themselves 9-0, so they
it's-
need a good bump. But
it's
granted,
just-
they're playing in the MAC as well.
But like I said, I think it was last week's show where I gave you their schedule, and they've played some good teams. I think like one of them was Northwestern. They
They
played.
played Northwestern in the first week. They played Illinois in the third week. Yes, Illinois is a lower team, but it's still a Big Ten team.
Yeah, exactly. So they're playing the teams, and they're just absolutely destroying them. They are undefeated. The AP poll, I think you said they were 14. I feel like that's a really good spot at number 14. You can go maybe 15, 16. But 21, like I think that is more laughable than having Texas A&M at 8. Because regardless of who you play, people were making jokes about it like last week. They're like, oh, well, since they're undefeated, should they be at 5? Obviously, they shouldn't be at 5 because they came into this in the season just probably ranked like 40th or 50th. But the season they've had, it's also just more of a respect thing, and they've earned it because this is. I don't know what the atmosphere is like at Western Michigan right now, but I'm sure it's something incredible with this team. So, I mean, I really hope that they get at least a somewhat decent bowl game, and they can at least prove to teams they don't have to win the bowl game, but as long as they can keep it competitive and maybe lose by within a touchdown, that'll be a historic season for them because already this is the first time they've ever been ranked. But I like that Western Michigan pick. Lyle, there has to be some team that's caught your eye.
I have an underranked team that's definitely caught my eye, and we touched on it earlier, but Nebraska falling 9 spots to 19. Their 2 losses were a 6-point loss to Wisconsin, who is ranked 7th, and then, okay, they got embarrassed by Ohio State, but I still think they're the best 2-loss team in the country. You look at some of these other 2-loss teams, A&M, Auburn, Penn State, Oklahoma, Colorado, I would take Nebraska over any of those guys with a healthy Tommy Armstrong. So I think falling to 19 is a joke.
I totally agree with you. 100%. I think they're the best 2-loss team in the country.
There's a segment we didn't do last week that a lot of people were surprisingly upset about, so we're bringing it back this week, and that is our Heisman Watch. So the top 5, Heisman Watch because we all know who's number 1. But
Why
guys,
even bother doing a top 5? It's come down to 3 people.
Baker Mayfield.
all right, then
It's
let's do
come down to 3.
Then let's do our Heisman top 3. Lyle, you can go first. Who are your 3 Heisman Watch?
You were upset this last week too because you had a good throw in there.
Yeah.
I
So
wanted to
you
do
can
5.
you can do your top 5.
All right.
Yeah.
Despite him having a down week this week, cracking my top 5 for the first time this year is Dalvin Cook. After having 1,084 total yards and 10 total touchdowns in the previous 5 games before this past Saturday, 1,084 yards and 10 touchdowns in 5 games. That is crazy. Those are some ridiculous numbers. I don't know how you don't put him in at least the top 5 for that. After that, I got Deshaun Watson at 4. He's starting to get himself back on the map as he's leading Clemson to a great year. JT Barrett's back at 3 for me after a great week against Nebraska, proving that Ohio State is still the real deal. And then you got Jake Browning at 2 for me. 6 total touchdowns this week against Cal. The dude has not stopped producing. And then number 1, who else but Lamar Jackson?
So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do 4 because I've narrowed it down to 4 for myself. At number 4, I have Dalvin Cook. Really like Dalvin Cook at 4. Like I said, I think this is the first time he's been in my Heisman top 4, top 5. And we watched him the last couple of weeks, and I've been really impressed with him. At number 3, I got to go back to JT Barrett, and I'm going to agree with Lyle again. Huge win over Nebraska. That was very impressive. At 2, you got to go with Deshaun Watson, and of course, number 1, you got to go with LJ. I'm dropping Jabril Peppers.
I noticed you didn't have Jake Browning in there.
I was about to say, does he have to throw 20 touchdowns in a game for you to
Does
put
he
him
have
in
to
your-
cure
put him in
cancer
your
for you to?
Heisman?
Play a good team.
Oh.
Okay.
I told him to prove me wrong, and the team earned my respect against Utah. However, were you guys impressed with either team in that game? They earned my respect. I just also don't think that they have played a legit competitor yet.
Well, this Saturday is going to make or break his season. Spencer.
I'm going to say 4, and I just want to say Daniel Pumphrey at 4.
I like that.
He has rushed his way to the record books, and Gosh darn it. Give that man a Heisman contention. Especially with him being the 2016 so far rushing leader. I mean, 244 attempts with 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns, solid numbers. For number 3, Jake Browning. Number 2, J.T. Barrett lit up Nebraska, lit up the number 10 team in the country. And, of course, Lamar at number 1.
Brady? I'm going to go 5, even though I said, I'll only go with 3, because the top 3 are pretty much the same for everyone. You have Lamar Jackson at 1, J.T. Barrett at 2. You could even throw Jake Browning at that number 3 spot, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw Deshaun Watson at 4, and I'm still going to keep Jabril in my top 5 at number 5. The amount of versatility that he has in every aspect of the game, he's one of the leaders on that team. Jim Harbaugh loves him. But if you look at the stats, though, we've talked about this on the show before, he's still not statistically as good as one of the other top athletes in all of college football.
So I sent these statistics to our group chat on Saturday only to have none of you respond, and I think it's because I proved y'all wrong. Because last week I had said that Adoree Jackson is just as good, if not better, than Jabril Peppers, and here's why. In their career, Adoree Jackson has 124 tackles, and Jabril has 97. Adoree has 3 interceptions, and Jabril has a very impressive 15.5 tackles for loss. Return-wise, now we're getting into the all-purpose, anywhere type of players on the field, which is incredible. Still seeing Adoree. He hasn't thrown a pass yet, and I don't think he will. But anyway, career return yards. Jabril Peppers has 625 with 1 punt return touchdown. Adoree Jackson has 2,246 for 6 return touchdowns, 3 kickoffs, 3 punts. And the last one is career total offense. Jabril Peppers has 285 yards with 5 rushing touchdowns. Adoree Jackson has 605 total yards with 5 receiving touchdowns.
All right, so fun fact, guys.
As good as Jabril Peppers
Jabril Peppers is, never forced a turnover. No interceptions, no fumbles, none.
Ooh.
See, that's what I'm saying. Is
I like fun facts.
both of them.
They're fun.
Me too. They're very fun. But
Hence the name.
I find them both just super flashy on the field. They're both fun to watch, regardless of who you root for, unless you're a UCLA or a Notre Dame or an Ohio State fan. Let's be real.
True that.
True. However, that's when you look at the statistics, and although I would say Jabril has probably had the better season, I mean, maybe not anymore. I honestly feel like they're starting to line up, but the first few games were real off for Adoree, and now he's playing incredibly. But that's when I start to think that Adoree might be just as good, if not better, is when you look at the statistics.
During that entire rant, we're now in week 12 of college football, so my Heisman Watch has changed drastically.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about Heisman.
At number 1, no changes. I mean, come on. Is it ever going to change? Zane Gonzalez, number 1.
Woo!
Once again, he didn't
Number 1 on the field, number 1 on our hearts.
He didn't miss any field goals this weekend. He didn't miss any PATs this weekend. A great week for Zane. They played who did Arizona State play this weekend? They played
BYE.
They played I think it's pronounced Bye. They played Bye. It was a great game. They didn't lose. But
the
Still not bowl eligible.
The stat line was really weird. I mean, we looked at it, it had 0 yards. I mean,
it was weird. Anyway, but for the Heisman, Lamar Jackson, number 1 without a doubt. At number 2, I got to go with Jake Browning. And then pretty much the rest for me is kind of a toss-up. Jabril, I really like, but now that Josh has really opened my eyes with the stats compared to Adoree, I think if SC's undefeated, Adoree's getting more love. So I don't know if I want to put Jabril at 3, but I do feel like Jabril, he still is having a great season, and there should be a defensive player that's getting love, so he should be in the top 5. The rest, I'm just going to give it a tie between J.T. Barrett, Deshaun Watson, and Jalen Hurts. I don't feel like you can rank them at all, but
Ranking Jalen Hurts?
I'm ranking Jalen Hurts. Well, I'm tying Jalen Hurts. But any of these guys you can't rank. But it's pretty much, as I always mention every week, it's Lamar's to lose. I feel like even if Louisville loses another game or two, the amount of touchdowns and yards he's throwing for, he can't. There's nothing he can do to get rid of that. But on to another subject, guys. It is time for the Q and the A.
Yay! I like you put the second "the" in there.
Yeah, I did too. So now, normally we always just get YouTube comments, and by the way, we have about 160 of those once again this week. But I think we're going to start with Twitter this week because I surprisingly got a good amount of Twitter questions. So let's get into those right now. Aleem, I'm probably saying this wrong. Aleem,
How's it spelled? Because you said Levy.
A-L-I-M.
Aleem.
Okay.
It's Aleem. but
I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. He wants to know what we thought of the Alabama-LSU game. No score for 3 quarters. Do we think it was a good game?
Yes.
Great game if you love defense, but the scoreline is kind of upsetting.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game in general, but it did kind of put me to sleep for the first 3 quarters. Obviously, you want to see some more scoring in games.
Harris Highlights asks us, what kind of questions do you have for us?
Ooh,
That's me.
I have a good one.
You're funny. Who do you think has the best chance of winning the SEC East now that Florida lost to Arkansas?
Kentucky.
I think you're being 100% serious, which is I love it. I think it's either going to
funny because I totally forgot how good they were until now.
It's probably going to be Florida.
This is what's interesting to me because Florida lost their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Del Rio?
Yeah, he's out.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, Kentucky does have a legitimate chance.
Stop dancing, Josh.
This question comes from Go Donald Duck, and I said go because it has 5 O's in it. And Lyle, his profile picture is a Seahawks helmet. So I'll let you answer this question first. Do you think Washington State can make it to the Rose Bowl?
No. They're a good team. Not quite to the Rose Bowl. I don't think they beat UW. So
They can. They won't. Here's my thing. I think UW is going to lose to either Wazoo or USC. I think if they beat USC, they lose to Wazoo and Pullman. I think if they lose to USC, I think they beat Wazoo. I think they hang tough. Yes, statistically, mathematically, sociologically, whatever you want to go for.
Really?
Sorry, we had
bring back sociology.
We had a lit soc class today. Ugh, yeah, I know. So I think yes, they can get there. I don't think they will.
Poop Dalla wants to know Zane Gonzalez over Jake Browning and Lamar Jackson for Heisman. Yes, without a doubt.
Yes, same for Heisman.
Pretty open question. It's not a true question. Blake Bounds asks us, Patrick Mahomes, Seth Russell, or Baker Mayfield?
Oh,
Ooh.
God. It's a good question.
I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield because he has playoff experience unlike the other two. To take a team to the playoffs, I'd take Baker Mayfield.
I'm going to say Seth Russell because he's a natural captain and he leads that Baylor offense.
He's also lived them to 2 straight L's.
Le's my pick. And what's yours, Blake?
Seth Russell.
See, the thing is, you can go either. It can be who do you want
It's
to
not,
lead your team?
The question isn't which one you choose, who's the best one, who has the hottest girlfriend. It's just 3 names posted out there, which can cause a lot of question in this one.
That's what I'm
I'm
saying.
going to repose this.
Greatest hair, Baker Mayfield.
Which of these 3 guys would you rather have leading your team?
Again, still Mayfield.
I think I go with Lyle. I think I go with Baker Mayfield. Patrick
Seth
Mahomes.
Russell!
Patrick Mahomes. If we're talking, stat wise, to go get us if it's there's a minute left in the game.
Against ASU every week.
If there's a minute left in the game and you need someone to drive down the field and get a touchdown, Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
But if it's you're starting from the beginning of the season and you want your team to do well, I think I got to go with Baker Mayfield in this one.
It's close. I really want to say Seth Russell, but I'm going to go with Mayfield. But I do agree 100% that if you need someone who's going to give you a touchdown in the last minute of the game, I'll go with Mahomes.
All right, this is a very good question. This comes from CG, or CGI. It's SYGI. I am not sure. They have a great profile pic. Let's say Ohio State beats Michigan and meets up with Wisconsin again in the Big Ten Championship. Does Ohio State beat them for the second time, or does Wisconsin come out on top? We all know it's tough to beat a team twice in one season, let alone a good team.
I'm going to say yes.
The first thought that popped in my head was automatically yes. But will they do it if it comes down to it? I'm going to say no. Wisconsin takes the upset for that one.
I say the Buckeyes rise to the occasion if they have to play Wisconsin again and win that game.
I'm with Lyle. I agree on that one.
Yeah, no,
Well, I'll tell you one thing. No matter who goes to the Rose Bowl, Big Ten's winning it.
This next one's not really a question, it's more of a comment, and it comes from John Costain, and he just says, Western Michigan and Chattanooga, co-national champions. I'm calling it. You've seen it here.
Well,
Is the MVP of the national championship Zane Gonzalez, though?
Yes, it will be. Well, he didn't
He's
say
going to
it,
get
but
drafted
we
by
all...
Chattanooga.
he called it. He called it.
I like that guy.
Yeah, great comment right there. Why does no one respect Washington?
Yeah.
You got my respect.
Josh, why don't you respect Washington?
I respect Washington. I'm just going to pick against them when I think they're going to lose.
I think it's just a strength of schedule, which is the main reason why everyone's hating on them, which I feel like it shouldn't be based how it is, but That's how it is. Also, guys, I'm still trying to figure out how was Washington's closest game this year against Arizona. I cannot figure that out.
I mean, we watched them in person and they were awful.
Arizona,
the environment around the game was awful.
Marshmallow Ryan. Hell of a name, by the way.
Dude, that's the question I was going to ask, too.
Blake, go ahead.
No, you can do it.
All right, Marshmallow Ryan asks,
Answer
do you think Western Michigan will make a New Year's Six Bowl if they win out?
See, I don't think they will make it, which I hate because I think they should make it. Now, that's a question in itself. Will they make it or should they make it? Guys, what do you think?
I really want to say yes, but I'm going to say no to both.
Because I don't think in the next 3 weeks they can climb from 21 up to... No. I mean, I think if they go undefeated, I think they finish the season ranked maybe 17th or 16th.
I think they go to a decent bowl game, though.
Yeah, but not a New Year's Six.
They won't go to some low-level bowl.
Something like the Gator Bowl or something like that.
I think they will go to a mid-level or good bowl game.
Now, here's a good one. A lot of people are asking about this. Can you see Louisville making it into the top 4 at the end of the year?
I can, but they need help. Because basically, if they want to make it in, UW has to lose. Because between Michigan and Ohio State, one of them is going to lose, and they do have the chance to jump one of those guys. But UW has to lose if they want to make it in.
I think really the only way is, given the UW loss, is if both Michigan and Ohio State come into their meeting with an additional loss.
With one loss.
Michigan comes into that game with a loss, which, as their schedule plays out, unless Indiana can pull off a miracle.
No.
No.
Sorry.
Richard Lego leads the NCAA in interceptions. He's a quarterback for IU. I really think that if one of those teams has 2 losses, or one of those teams has a loss, so whichever team finishes with more losses, obviously. If Michigan finishes the season with a loss and even beats Ohio State, I see a little bit of controversy, and that'll be the toughest decision that this committee will have to make.
So I'm going to agree with Lyle and say that first off, UW has to lose for Louisville, preferably USC. Because I feel like that Washington State game might be kind of late. That's like the last week of the season. However, let's just say that UW loses to USC. That's number 1 that they need to happen. Additionally, it would be amazing if Michigan could have 1 loss for them. If Michigan has an additional loss before that OSU game, then yes, Louisville has a chance.
See, what I'm thinking is that with Louisville to be in, they, need Washington to lose. I do agree with you guys on that. So let's say Washington falls down to 6, 7, I don't even know. So, and then for the Michigan-Ohio State...
They would need Michigan to win.
They would need Michigan to lose.
No,
they would need Michigan to win.
Because if Ohio State and Washington lose...
Well, I think...
Because think about it. If Washington loses, Louisville easily gets the number 5 spot because Ohio State's going to fall to 4.
I mean,
if Ohio State loses...
Michigan loses, they won't take the 4 spot, though.
But they might still be ahead of Louisville. They
Louisville
still might...
Would be 5 at that point.
They could drop Louisville to 6, maybe. They could. They need Ohio State to lose that game. Because if Ohio State loses at 4, Louisville just slips right in and takes that spot. I feel like they still can. If Michigan loses, they could still take that spot. But they have a better chance if Ohio State loses.
Yeah. So, like, the main thing is here, Louisville needs a lot of things to happen.
Because then if Michigan loses, Ohio State, like, you have to remember the Big Ten championship as well. So then Michigan would be in the Big Ten championship, so Louisville's nothing to worry about because Michigan's still going to be up there high. So I think Washington has to lose and Ohio State has to lose for Louisville to crack the top 4.
I agree.
Could be interesting if that plays out.
Really quickly, speaking of Michigan, yes or no, can Michigan win the national championship?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, they can, for sure.
I agree, yes.
All right, we're going to do a few more rapid-fire questions, yes or no's. Let's do it.
No.
If Penn State wins out, do they deserve a New Year's Six Bowl? Not will they get there, do they deserve one if they win out?
If you win out the rest of the season, the Big Ten and beat...
They have 2 losses?
Yeah.
Yes.
Blake, here's a question for you because you're our gracious host.
Oh.
What is your favorite highlight video that you've made?
Ooh. Now that's a tough one. Highlight. I'll do 2. I'll do favorite video and favorite highlight. Favorite video, the top 100 plays of...
How long did that take you to make?
Oh God. It takes weeks, but it was my favorite video because the number 1 play I got to introduce on the field of where the number 1 play took place, and that's a story in itself of what happened on that field that day. So another show, but let's just say I had a run with the police. And as opposed to favorite highlight video, I would throw it up between Suick Ravens because, one, he was the first major player to actually hit me up, and he was very gracious, and Paul McGlure. Mainly because Paul McGlure is, like I've mentioned many times, is the nicest guy that I've talked with. I actually texted him today. He was asking me who's Arizona State playing tomorrow. I don't know why he couldn't just Google it, but he texted me asking, but hey, there you go.
Cool.
There you go. So
maybe
Paul,
they have the words Arizona State blocked on.
maybe.
Oh,
The
in
Wi-Fi.
Tucson, they probably have state blocked.
I'm going to do one final question, and this isn't a sports
Because
question.
Arizona is where they go
But
to
I
state.
really want to answer this question. And Jason Thed Some Bandith, I don't know. He wants to know, how was the transfer process to ASU? I plan on enrolling after I graduate with my AA next fall. Well, as we all know, I have transferred from Pasadena City College, one of the
PCC!
PCC is actually the second highest rated community college in the country, behind Santa Monica Community College.
Shout out Santa Monica, Southern California.
Harper.
If you're thinking about transferring to ASU, do it because ASU has one of the easiest, and I say easiest transfer programs you can do. You literally just fill out the application, whatever major you want to do, and you submit it. There wasn't like a huge novel of an essay you had to write. It was the least stressful out of all the college applications I had to do. So if you're considering ASU, do it because first of all, you're gonna love it, but second of all, it's an easy application process, and you will love it. Every day at ASU is great, but speaking of great, guys, we have this brand new bell installed that's currently ringing. Can you guys hear it?
Ding, ding.
Once again, it is Josh. It is not Josh that is ringing the bell, but it is time for the Pick Ems. That portion of the show where we choose who's going to win each and every game, and either we're completely wrong, we're completely off. In my case, my goodness, did I take so many L's last week. I was completely off with that Nebraska game. Unfortunately, LSU didn't pull out. I lost a lot of games, but as we did last week, having a special guest in the studio, this week we want to welcome Garrett to the studio. Garrett, welcome.
Oh, hello, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Now, I'm looking at Garrett's paper right now, and it looks like Garrett took some notes, so he has come prepared. But before, as we always do, get into the actual pick'ems, I do have to go over the scoreboard. Everyone wants to know, and I see a big old grin on Lyle's face, so I have to look over there. And Lyle, I gave you crap last week for going back to second place. You have overtaken me this week and taken the lead with 47 points. And I'm down by 2 now to you. Wow. So you have a 2-point lead. As I mentioned, I made some stupid picks last week, but hopefully we can rebound. So Lyle has 47, I have 45. In third is Spencer with 40. Josh
40.
and Brady.
7-point difference. I thought I had a chance at like top 2 maybe.
Wait, real quick. How did Chase do last week?
Well, I'll get to him after you two guys.
Wait, so we're the bottom 2, right?
Once again, Josh and Brady are the bottom 2. Now the
We're the
question
bottom
is,
feeders.
who is the second bottom and who is at the one bottom? Well, the question is, Josh, you are not at the bottom once again.
Yes.
You have 38. Brady has 37. Hopefully,
I'm just one
Wait, so
behind
go
you.
through the points again.
Do
What
we
are the
pick the
totals?
same games every week?
Pretty
Almost,
much.
Pretty much.
That's why-
I've been so bad the last
at this
3
point
weeks.
now, guys, consider this a strategy because
Yeah, follow Lyle.
Okay.
just make it a strategy. It's 47, 45, 40, 38, 37. And last week, Chase had 12. So, Garrett, hopefully this week you can get 13 right. It's a lot to ask, but we'll see how we can do. And the first game of the week, Kentucky at Tennessee.
I like Tennessee in this game. I think Josh Dobbs will bounce back this week. Kentucky's a good team, but I'm taking Tennessee.
Rocky Top.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Tennessee in this one as well. Damn it, picking with Josh again.
I'm gonna go Kentucky.
I like it.
Kentucky.
Garrett, who are you
I
going
didn't
with?
pick Kentucky purely because of basketball reasons.
Oh, God. Garrett?
True, I like that strategy. I'm taking Tennessee. Just too much home field advantage, as you know, they've got one of the largest stadiums, not only in the nation but in the world.
Very
Knows his
true.
stuff.
Very true.
Nayland.
I like what we were talking about earlier, how Kentucky has a chance to represent the SEC in the national, or not the national title, but the SEC title game. I'm going with Kentucky. They almost beat Georgia, who I thought they would, so I'm going to go with Kentucky in this one. Baylor at Oklahoma.
Oh, this one's a doozy.
I'm going to take Oklahoma in this one. Baylor's coming off 2 straight losses, including a whopping 40-point loss to a not very good TCU Horned Frog team last week. I think Oklahoma takes this one home.
I agree with you on that one. Not many times I agree with people, except almost always. I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think Oklahoma's going to win this one at home. Baker Mayfield's going to put on a show and add another L to his name. Not Baker Mayfield's name.
Seth Russell's name.
Yeah, I would really like to take Seth Russell and the Bears, but and say that they're going to bounce back after these last 2 losses. I just don't think the Bears. are gonna be able to do it. I saw Brady like whisper that into Spencer's ear. So I'm gonna go with the Sooners.
Boomer Sooner.
I like Oklahoma too in this game, especially with them having Joe Mixon back this week after his 1 week suspension.
This past weekend, Oklahoma barely was able to beat Iowa State, who is probably one of the worst teams out there.
Yeah, you can't count out the Cyclones.
Oklahoma this year, I've mentioned before, I think they're overranked. Baylor's lost 2 in a row. I don't see them losing 3 in a row.
Ugh.
I think Seth Russell's going to keep 2 L's in the end of his name, and I think Baylor's going to get the dub in this one. West Virginia at Texas.
Ugh. It's another doozy.
The defense of West Virginia is great, so I'm going to take West Virginia in this game, but very, very close.
I like the home field advantage of the Longhorns. They had a huge home win against Notre Dame where the crowd definitely played a factor in that one, and I love that the way they came out and they just took it to Baylor. So I'm going to go with the Longhorns.
A win this week for Texas would be that statement win that
Yes.
Charlie Strong so desperately needs.
Yes.
And I'm going to say that he has a lot riding on his back, not only for this season, but for his whole career. I say Texas is going to win this one in dramatic fashion.
We have picked the same team every
I know.
week, Brady.
I know.
Every game so
I
far.
know.
You guys need to start going opposite soon.
I'm saying West Virginia. Even though I know home field means a lot and Texas is improving, West Virginia is the better team, and I think they're going to show it to Texas.
Yeah, I'll take West Virginia as well. I think this is one of the better matchups of the Pick Ems this week.
Thank you.
It's going to be a close game, and I think West Virginia can pull it out, but look for Texas to take that possible upset.
See, it's a tough one. West Virginia, they're ranked 16th, I think. They're a very good team. Texas, 1 week Texas looks amazing, 1 week they look terrible. But at this point now, I don't even care. It's strategic at this point. Okay, I'm using strategy. Lyle picked West Virginia, therefore I'm picking Texas. Tulsa at Navy.
You've said it 3 straight, but here's what I'm going to say. Go Navy. Home field advantage going to mean a lot to this game.
They've looked great the last few weeks. I'm going with Navy again.
Yeah, I think Navy's a good team, got that home field advantage. Tulsa's favorite, but this is a good upset pick.
I like the offense that Navy runs, so I'm going to go with the midshipmen.
I'm going to say Tulsa in this one just because Navy's offense is so tough to go against, but Tulsa has a very good rushing and running defense, which is almost what all Navy does.
Garrett said Tulsa's favored. People get paid to make these favorite picks. They know what they're talking about. I'm going with Tulsa. Cincinnati at UCF.
Oh.
Now, this is once again a matchup of the Harambe's versus the Knights. So, who comes out on top?
The Harambe's let me down last week. They really did.
They lost to Mormons.
They lost to the Swarmin' Mormons.
The Stormin' Mormons.
They swarmed them.
Stormin' Mormons.
All right.
Mormons. Oh, man. I'm going to go with Central Florida.
I'm going to go with UCF. I like where they're playing right now. And at home, too. That
I like
helps
their
a lot.
uniforms.
Great unis.
I'm going to go with Cincy.
I'm sticking with Lyle. I'm going Cincinnati in this one as well.
I'll take Central Florida.
I think Central Florida last year didn't win a game.
They did not.
They did not win a game.
Or maybe
So whoever their coach is this year, I do not know his name. Props to him for turning this program around. I'm going with Central Florida in this one. Minnesota at Nebraska.
Oh, good lord.
Huskers, no question. Go Big Red.
To me, I feel like this is going to be a good game. 2 7-2 teams, although it is in Nebraska, so that's going to help Nebraska a lot, and that's why I'm going to pick Nebraska. But this is going to be a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Nebraska, and I'm going to have to disagree with you, Spencer. I think this one honestly could get ugly. Nebraska's coming off of 2 losses, but if you look at the 2 losses, against 2 great teams, I think at home this one could blow open pretty quickly.
I'm going with Nebraska in this one after what they suffered last week. It wasn't an annihilation. It was atrocious against Ohio State, who one of the top teams in the country, obviously. Nebraska needs a win after falling from this one to get another bump in the rankings. They fell all the way to 19th from 10th. So if they get a win here, it could bump them back into the top 15 spot.
I like Nebraska in this game over Cold Lake, Minnesota.
See, Tommy Armstrong, like Brady just mentioned off air, might not play this weekend. If he doesn't play this weekend, I think Minnesota takes it. I think Minnesota is one of the very, very best underrated teams in the country. I don't think they've been ranked at all this season, but Spencer mentioned they are 7-2, playing in a very tough conference. They've had some good games. I think, just assuming that Tommy Armstrong doesn't play, I'm going to go with Minnesota in this one. Well, this is a fun one coming up, guys. This is going to spark lots of controversy and lots of discussion. USC at Washington. I'm going to let everyone else go first, and then Josh can get the last say.
The matchup I look for in this game that I think it's going to be really interesting, Juju Smith-Schuster on UW's corner, Sidney Jones. That is going to be a matchup for the ages. However, at home, game day, Huskies are going to be pumped up. I see UW coming out with this win.
I'm going to stick with the same trend that Lyle said with that one and the matchup between the wide receivers and cornerbacks in this one. Yes, USC has sort of redeveloped their rushing game over the last roughly 3 weeks or so, you'd say. But I think the cornerback play is UW has a solid back four. They have 2 good safeties and 2 almost locked down corners. Whereas if you look at USC, they only have that one big name. Yes, they have a good secondary, but it's not as highly talented as this UW team. I think where UW is going to win is they'll be able to knock down some passes thrown by Sam Darnold, and the rushing game will be the thing that'll win this game. But I think UW comes out victorious.
I just picked the Huskers. I'm going to be picking the Huskies. I think this could be one of the best games of the week. USC is a very surging team, but at home, I still think UW is almost slept on as one of the top teams in the nation. Taking the Huskies. Confused myself at home.
To me, I think this is truly Jake Browning's coming out game.
It better
Truly.
be.
Because I had him at 3 for my Heisman Watch. But still, if he's able, and I believe he is, to put up good numbers on this USC team and take them to victory, hello, Washington.
And that's when I come in. I think that... No. Hold on. Let me say my thing. USC has developed its run game, like I said. They're running the ball like they haven't in a long time. They're putting up ridiculous numbers. The rushing game should be back at full strength this week, and even undermanned, they've been incredible. The offensive line has been awesome. The defense has been great. The secondary and the linebackers have been great. And then you see Sam Darnold at quarterback, who has revitalized this team. The talk of firing Clay Helton has almost completely ceased. And I think I'm going to agree with Blake and say that USC is currently playing like maybe a top 10 team in the country. I think they're the hottest team in the country right now. However, Washington is, what are they, 8-0? Washington is 8-0. Jake Browning is a phenomenal quarterback who I've kept out of my Heisman run. They are 9-0. Jake Browning is a phenomenal quarterback who I have kept out of my Heisman run until probably this week. This is his coming out game. This is his week where he will probably end up in my Heisman run if they come out with a big W this week, without a doubt. This is their first, I think, major test of the year against a real good team, and it's at home. And they've earned my respect. So for that reason, with the game at home, with them earning my respect, I think in front of the home crowd, Washington suffers their first loss of the year.
I had a feeling you were going to go that way.
My mind is blown.
This is a really tough one for me because, as I've mentioned in the show, USC has looked really, really good. For this game, as like you guys know that Josh and I are huge USC fans, I want USC.
Really?
I want USC to win this game, but I do want Washington to make it to the top 4 for the college football playoff. For my pick'em, I'm going with USC, mainly because they are one of the hottest teams in the country. I don't know if Washington can handle the pressure, but like I said, I do want Washington to go undefeated, go to the Pac-12 championship, and represent the Pac-12 in the college football playoff. But I think USC is just going to be too tough for them. But we'll just have to wait and see on this one. But I'm going with USC.
It's game day for a reason.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to be a great game.
Auburn and Georgia.
Auburn, no question.
I really do like that Georgia offense, but I got to go with Auburn.
I think Auburn's almost a lock in this game. I think Nick Chubb's really the only thing keeping Georgia alive this season, and he has been good the last 2 weeks, but he's been inconsistent against bigger name teams.
Because this is SEC football, I think we can't give the game to Auburn, and also you have to factor in that this game is in Athens.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to take Auburn as well. I think Auburn's too tough for Georgia.
Yeah, I think Auburn's just too good of a team to lose to a 5-4. Now again, 5-4 in the SEC doesn't mean much, but 5-4 team, Auburn takes this one.
I think this is probably going to be the only game where we all have the same pick. I'm going to go with Auburn. Army at Notre Dame.
I think Notre Dame can come out victorious in this one. I think this is one of the games in the later half of their schedule where they have a really good chance at winning. Army's been very inconsistent on both sides of the ball. They've been really high at some points and really, really low at some others. And so I think Notre Dame is just, I would normally say they're too good of a team, but that obviously hasn't shown this year. But they're getting better. And Brian Kelly has changed something, done something. Deshaun Kaiser's playing some great football. And I think Notre Dame wins this game.
I'm still not impressed with this team, really
I'm
at
not
all.
impressed, but I think they could easily win.
I'm sorry, Lyle. I really haven't been impressed with this team at all. Not even in the slightest. However, these are two teams where there are two teams that both have my respect, though, with the way they play football. I like the way they play football. They just haven't been impressing me, if that makes sense. So I think, also, I respectfully like Notre Dame's uniforms, but they're still some of the ugliest things I've ever seen this week. They're like gold and green. They look weird. But I'm going to take the Irish.
You got to think Army's going to do something cool for Salute to Service.
I think they are, too. I think all the military schools are going to come out with something really cool this week. But I think Notre Dame
that dates back to 1913.
Yeah.
So it's one of the good ones.
I think it's a big game. I think it's going to be a good game. I just don't think Army's going to be able to hang with the Irish.
I'm going to say the opposite. Army's going to win this game. Notre Dame, letdown season, back and forth. Games they should have won, they lost. Games they should have lost, they won. I'm saying this is a game that they're going to lose to Army.
I'll be taking Notre Dame. The season's definitely, already a loss, but I think they could pick up a good extra win here against a decent Army team.
I'm going to let Lyle go last, so I'll give my 2 cents right now. I mentioned last week, Army has one of the best defenses in the country. They're going to stop Notre Dame, I think. I don't think Notre Dame's going to be able to score on Army at all this week. So if Army can get 2 touchdowns, they're going to take this game. It's going to be a low-scoring game without a doubt, but I think Army comes out on top.
You think they're, 14-0?
I'm thinking like 14-7.
Wow. Army does have a really good defense, and I respect that about them. But after these past few weeks, I finally get to say my 2 favorite words. Go Irish. They're taking the win. Again, look for Josh Adams and Equanimity.
You back to the Fighting Irish now?
No. But look for Josh Adams and Equanimity St. Brown to have a good game.
Appalachian State at Troy.
I feel like this is like a sleeper, really,
Seven-
possibly really good
7-2 versus
game.
7-1.
Honestly, when you look at the matchup, it could be a good one to watch. I'll be taking Troy just because I've been sticking with the home teams for the majority of it. But again, this would be an interesting one to tune into.
I'm going to go with the Mountaineers. I really like Appalachian State. I like what they've been doing this year. I think it's going to be up there with USC UW for the best game of the week.
Josh hasn't picked the Trojans.
Oh, true. Good point. Hey, I picked USC to lose twice this year.
Anyway.
Just play on words. Come on.
I
Have fun
know.
with it.
Shut up. Let me be me. I'm going with the Mountaineers.
I'm
Ah.
going to have to go with Troy on this one, totally with the guest pickers salute to this. Home field advantage is going to mean a lot in this game.
I'm going to go with Troy in this one purely because if you look at those logos, Troy's logo is a T made out of a sword, and that's kind of badass. So
Dope.
I'm going Troy within this one. And they only lost to Clemson by, I think, 10 earlier in the season.
Home field advantage.
The-
20,000 of them are going to be lit.
My hitting coach's name was Troy for baseball, so I'm going with Troy.
I think in every show I've always given Troy a little crap for, the whole Clemson game. Didn't give them the respect they deserved. I was looking at the AP rankings. According to the AP rankings, Troy is the 29th ranked team in the country right now. The 29th ranked team, which means if they can get 2 wins in a row, they might crack the top 25 of the AP.
Goddamn right.
I had no idea that Troy was doing this well. So, you know what? I'm sorry that I was disregarding them earlier. I'm going to take Troy in this one. Stanford at Oregon.
Troy.
Talk about the game of the letdown running backs this season. Rolls-Royce Freeman and Christian McCaffrey. 2 names that we thought we'd be talking about all year, and we haven't at all.
We have been. It's just about how disappointing they've been.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't even talked about Royce Freeman. No one has because he's been awful. But I do like Stanford in this game. I mean, I think it's a close game, but I think they pull out a win.
I'll tell you, watching the USC-Oregon game last week, you look down at the sidelines, and you see Royce Freeman, and I thought, oh yeah, I forgot about him. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the Cardinal, Stanford.
I'll take Stanford. They've obviously had a rough season, but they've got too much talent to lose to a team like Oregon.
Even with Oregon, I was like, wait. Even with Oregon being at home, I think home field advantage won't mean a lot this game because of how bad the Mighty Ducks are this year.
Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks. How
Great
intimidating
movie.
are you? Oof, you're a
Can we add
duck.
that to the list?
Quack.
Quack, quack.
So I'm going to take Stanford.
I'm going to go against the grain on this one. I'm going to say that Oregon, this game is going to be big for Freeman. I can just tell already because how disappointing Stanford has been. Christian McCaffrey scoring his first road rushing touchdown. Was it last week, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. I think Autzen is a very tough place to play. It gets crazy loud. The way that it's shaped, it just echoes sound back into the stadium. It's a very tough place to play, very hostile environment. So I'm going to go with the Ducks in Eugene winning this game.
I'm going with you on that one too, Brady. I'm picking the Ducks to beat Stanford. LSU at Arkansas.
I'm interested to see how Arkansas is going to fare in this game because I have been impressed with them lately, but I've also been impressed with LSU. Last week they put up a tough fight against the number 1 team in the land. They lost. It was 10-0. The scoreline doesn't say much. However,
What a game, though.
Yeah, it always is, especially in Death Valley. And I think it's going to be a really fun game, and I think that Coach O and the LSU Tigers are going to pull this one out.
You know, you said the scoreline didn't say much, but I almost think it does. I mean, a team like Bama, who has been so dominant this whole season, only losing by 10 and holding that offense to 10 points, I thought was fairly impressive against a team like Alabama. So I'm taking LSU in this game.
I'm going to go with LSU in this game. And the one thing that's sort of just looming over the heads of the Tigers this year is that postponed game against Florida and how that could come back and that could either help or hurt them in the rankings at the end of the season when that's made up. I think that's going to be a very crucial game in the playout and layout of their – yeah, that rhymed. Deal with it. In the layout of their schedule and the remaining bowl game that they go to, and if they get a good jump in the rankings. So I think LSU is going to win this one. But the one game I'm looking out for LSU is that one against Florida.
Yeah, their defense looked almost impeccable last week, and I was really, really impressed. I'm going to go with the Tigers in this game over Arkansas.
I'm going to go the same way with the Tigers because their defense held the number 1 team in the country to 10 points. Even though they weren't able to score, I still find that a semi-victory in some aspect to the Tigers, so I'm going to give this one to LSU.
There is such thing as a good loss, and LSU had it.
Not according to the playoff committee.
Not according to... Well, their offense didn't have a good loss.
But at this point now in this show, I've just gone against Laos so many times. I think that's what the entire Pick Ems this week is going to be, so I'm just going to go with Arkansas.
Woo, second place!
Either next week I'm just going to be in commanding first. I'm going to be somewhere in 3rd or 4th with all you guys.
Common folk.
Yeah.
Us common folk.
But before we get to the worst of the worst,
Oh.
which is what I believe what was coming up next, I don't get how you never put this team.
Oh, they were coming, buddy. They were coming. And that is Chattanooga. Brady, who does Chattanooga play this week?
Chattanooga's play.
All right, now that's the Swedish chef has joined in the show. Swedish chef. Brady, who are they playing this weekend?
They play Wofford.
Ooh,
Wofford.
powerhouse.
Wofford. WOFFORD.
They're a
playing
D-
at Finley Stadium.
They're a D2 powerhouse. I think that Wofford team is.
Yes. That's gonna be good.
Hey.
Hey, they won this past week too.
Of course they did.
But guess what? They didn't play this past week.
Oh,
I still said it. I said it in last week's episode. Why don't you pair up Chattanooga and ASU to both play on their bye week?
that's true. That's true.
We
Guys, who's
love-
winning this game?
I think if you don't pick Chattanooga, then you're off the show. So Chattanooga.
Chattanooga. Spencer's debating this.
I'm just new here, but this is peer pressure. Chattanooga.
Chattanooga!
We just found out that the Chattanooga-Bama game is a primetime game. It's going to be on at 5
Oh,
o'clock.
let's go!
I think it's 5.
Wait, is it really?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's Mountain Time, Mountain Time, Central Time, Eastern Time. I don't know.
It's a time game somewhere.
It's gonna be.
It's 7 p.m. Eastern.
Let's
All right,
go!
so 7 p.m. Eastern,
Don't
5
sleep on
o'clock our
Chattanooga.
time, 4 o'clock Pacific. It's going to be on ESPN2. It's going to be an amazing game. We all can't wait for it.
Spencer just clapped with his fist. He was like,
Do not hit that snooze button, and for the last time, do not sleep on Chattanooga. They're going to come out on top. But speaking of all that, that does lead us to the worst of the worst. It is that one game of the week where you cannot pay us to watch it, you can't pay anyone to watch it, and for some reason people are actually going to be attending this game. I'm sure Brady's looking up how much tickets are on StubHub, because I'm surprised they're actually on StubHub, because, like I said, who wants to go to this game? And that game is 1-8 Iowa State against 1-8 Kansas. Guys, who the hell wins this game?
I'm not going to say my pick yet. I'm going to let Spencer say his pick first, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this our first Power 5 conference worst of the worst?
I think it is.
This is sad.
That's why this is the worst of the worst.
Way to go, Big 12.
Tickets start at $25.
Nice.
Wow.
$25?
They're more expensive than Phoenix Suns tickets.
To be honest, that's true.
And
So,
Diamondbacks.
$1 lower
And Diamondbacks and Coyotes.
We all know the history of Kansas football.
You?
Yeah. Go Iowa State. Kansas is poop at football.
They're buns.
They're buns.
Dad, I know you're out there listening. This one's for you. Let's go Cyclones.
Yay!
I have some friends who go to Iowa State, so I guess them.
True.
Go Cyclones.
Me too.
No way.
It's a great school.
It is.
It's a beautiful place.
Every time I see them playing in any sport, I'm like, oh, cool, USC's. Oh, wait, never mind.
Yeah, and for that reason, I'm not going to pick the Cyclones. Where do you get off? 2 stripes just looks very similar to 1.
That's what
So-
really grinds my gears.
That's what grinds my gears. I'm going with the Jayhawks.
Oh, God.
Kansas!
Rock Chalk
Who
Jayhawk.
has ever picked Kansas in a football game?
Your
He
boy
has.
did just now.
It's your boy.
It's your boy.
Lyle.
All right, story time.
Yes. Thank God.
Notre Dame's old head coach, Charlie Weiss, after his career went down the drain.
Down
he,
the toilet bowl.
Yeah, he went to go coach Kansas. Notre Dame's old quarterback about 10 years ago, Dane Christ. No one knows that.
I thought you were going to say Dane Cook.
No one knows that name.
I do.
After his career went down the drain, he went to Kansas, and I hate both of them. So Iowa State.
Yes.
Hey, can we...
I think Kansas is just such a terrible team. Like, they are an abomination to the sport of college football. As I mentioned, Iowa State almost knocked off Oklahoma last week. I'm gonna go with Iowa State in this one.
Here's the best thing about Kansas.
Nothing.
Their basketball team?
Their helmets.
Oh, wait, they play IU this week. Screw
They
Kansas.
have great helmets. I'll give them that.
The only reason I picked Kansas
Those
is because I
chrome
thought
ones
I'd
are
pull
so
off
cool.
Blake's strategy and pick against Brady.
Well, yeah.
Well, that does lead us to the final game of the week. ASU, which, hopefully if I get this podcast up in time, is taking place as you're listening to it right now. Guys, the Utah Utes are coming in tomorrow night to face us. It's going to be a blackout. Salute to service. The last home game of the season, the last time we'll ever get to see future MVP Zane Gonzalez play in person. That's going to be
thanks
terrible.
for just killing the mood.
Don't worry, because it's going to be lit. Okay, bye.
He's winning Heisman.
So, guys,
Cry.
we've talked about Arizona. Did we talk about Arizona State earlier in the show?
Yes,
We did.
slightly.
So let's just try to keep this fairly short. You know, don't want to drag this out too much, guys. Who's winning this game and why?
I'm going to start this one off on a very anti-Sun Devil route. Utah's winning this game.
Okay.
I didn't think this one through, but I just don't have belief in Arizona State
And that's
football at
okay.
this point, so I'm saying Utah.
That's okay.
As much as I love me some Arizona State, I think Utah's just too strong of a team, so I'm going to go with the Utes this week.
In this game, I'm going to go with Utah. I think they're going to come in, beat the Sun Devils in the last game on senior night at Sun Devil Stadium. It's going to be big for the Utes. That'll just give them a bigger bump in the AP poll and the college football playoff rankings. And I think the Sun Devils won't get their 6th win tomorrow, Thursday, whenever this
I
airs.
want to make a bowl game.
As I somberly throw up my pitchfork, I'll be taking the Utes in this game as well. I wish I could pick ASU so badly, but I can't.
So, I would love to pick the Sun Devils as well. And don't get us wrong, we will all be there in person tomorrow holding up a sign that says Zane for Heisman. And
Utah doesn't take MNG.
No one knows what that means.
But it's provocative.
No, it's not.
Get some people going.
Oh my god.
Garrett, that deserves a high five.
Clippers are up by
Anyway.
36.
Anyway, let's get back to my pick. So I think that Sun Devil Stadium's going to be rocking. They're blacking out the Utes. Salute to service night. I think Tempe and Sun Devil Stadium is going to be wild. Sun Devils are going to be back at full strength, or at least very close to full strength, but they just don't have enough to beat this Utes team. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think Utah might pull away in the end, but I think it'll be relatively a close game.
Y'all are crazy for this one, my goodness. Arizona State, we're finally healthy. If we've been healthy all year, I think we take some of these games. It's the last game of the season, as I mentioned, a blackout. Sun Devil Stadium is going to be rocking. These guys are going to have a chip on their shoulder. And I think Arizona State, frankly, comes out with the win. I'm not impressed with Utah. There's been games where Utah could have lost, and they just didn't. So, guys, I'm taking the Sun Devils on this one. I'm very disappointed to hear none of you are.
Well, it's
What's
a good
the
pick.
deal?
I like
It's a
your
great pick. It's
like
an
the
amazing pick. I'm proud of my pick.
Utah has been disappointing to me, too. I just don't think Arizona... I haven't seen enough in the last few weeks. I think...
know that average Joe's does not have enough players and will be forfeiting the championship match.
What is the show? What are we doing? It should be... I hope it's a good game.
It'll be a good game. It'll be a good game. Really quick, guys. Uni-Watch. What was your favorite uniform of this past weekend?
I'm going to go first. I'm going to go with Miami, but not the U. Miami of Ohio. Rocking some sick gray uniforms with almost a winged lattice pattern going across the middle. Red stripes, red chrome, matte red helmet with a chrome stripe down the middle. Really cool uniform combination. I love the combination of the colors from Miami of Ohio.
I'm going to go with Arkansas. Those were crisp, those jerseys. That's the best word I can use. Those
Yes.
nice gray with a touch of red, those were great.
Yeah.
I'll go next. Oh, my bad. I'll go next. And I'll go the UCF. All black, nice looking shine on the helmets. Real nice look. I like that.
I thought Yukons were real nice. A nice, clean gray.
Yeah.
The matte helmets, they pulled it off nicely. You can never go wrong with matte, in my opinion.
No.
See, here's the thing. I think I've shouted out UCF like the last 3 weeks in a row, but I can't pick them. And for me, it was a toss-up this week between Northwestern and UConn, and I was waiting for you to make your pick so that I could narrow it down to Northwestern. I really like their uniforms this week. The all-gray, purple stripe is very unique, and I really like it. So, I mean, they always have that stripe across the chest, but I like it.
I'm going to go with Mississippi State. Just very clean, crisp. I liked it. Representing the country. And they got the dub, which always helps. But this upcoming week for the Salute to Service, there are some damn good uniforms this week. Like next week, we might have to have 2 a person because I have seen a lot of upcoming great-looking jerseys. So next
Can
week,
we at least have one uniform in common with someone else, though?
Yes.
we'll have to wait and see.
I
It
think
looks
we have
very
to.
good. But unfortunately, that does wrap up our show. Garrett, once again, we'd like to thank you for joining us in the studio.
I'd like to thank you. Hopefully, I'll be coming back with 14 correct picks next week.
Hopefully, if you get them all right, my goodness, we're gonna have to get you back. It means he definitely has to come back. And before we go, really quickly, Spencer, it is time for you to name your new favorite team of the week. That time where everyone messages him what team he needs to become a fan of. Spencer, what team are you going to be a fan of this week?
All right, so this one's from Aaron Simmons at Little Bear 4630. And he says to become the fan of the Clinton, Tennessee High School Dragons.
All right, the Dragons. I like it.
I like that.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a team that you feel needs an extra fan, Spencer's DMs are always open, so hit him up on
Bam!
Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is.
Go.
Let him know what team he needs to become a fan of.
Look at that good-looking at name right there just on the screen.
SPX09?
Goddamn.
There
right.
it is.
5 characters.
Now, before
Easy
we
to
go,
remember.
also would like to remind you guys that athleticcases.com is giving away one of their cases this week. All you got to do is go to Twitter, follow me, and let me know why you want the case. Also, if you want to tell me what case you'd like as well, that might help out your chances. Once again, that's athleticcases.com. Hit them up, check them out, 10% off using the promo code Harris. Enjoy. All right, guys, that wraps up this show. Another fun time, some great games this week. Already 7 episodes down the drain.
Yes, sir.
One
Not
fun.
Down the drain.
What?
Wow.
Bad
I
choice
hope
of
you
words.
lose subscribers. No, seriously, don't lose. Please don't
don't.
unsubscribe.
Zane Gonzalez's final game. Lots of great videos coming out. Lots
think
more
we're gonna
fun.
cry.
We might shed a tear. Tomorrow has to be the game where he hits a game-winning field goal. It has to be that game. Well, who knows? And the best part is, like I said, everyone's going to be listening to this as the game's going on, so we'll have to wait and see. But as we all mentioned, all of our Twitters are in the bio below. We do like talking college football. Guys, well, we got to get a photo with Zane Gonzalez tomorrow. Guys, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment. You can listen on SoundCloud as well. I'm still trying to figure out iTunes. I've just been too lazy to actually give it an attempt.
51 subscribers away from 76,000.
Oh, we're going to get there soon. Hopefully we can get to 76K. But anyway, guys, have a great day. Thank you so much for watching this video. And once again, we will see you all next week. Later.
Yes.
Get.